Everybody, 𝐤𝐳𝐧𝐝 here, and my students like to call me Coach Joe. I'm an independent educational consultant, a study skills coach, and a college counselor. And guess what my passion is? To help teens reach their maximum potential. I can't imagine doing anything else other than working with teens, right? And today I have a very special guest. Her name is Anjali Nambakkam. She's from the Bay Area. I mean, she is full of spark, energy, drive, persistent, her sense of detail. I mean, I can go on and on and on. I'm fangirling her, but she's a wonderful, wonderful student. And fairly recently, she landed in the Stony Brook WISE BSMD program. So I thought I should introduce here. And so everybody, a big round of applause to Anjali. So welcome, Anjali.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. This is so sweet.
Yeah. So thank you for coming here, Anjali. And I have been following your journey, which is pretty darn wonderful and inspiring. The very first time I interacted with you was in my research program. And guess what, guys? Every year I bring over Anjali back to show her research paper. I mean, the level of detail is wonderful. So that is how I came across Anjali, but there's more of Anjali Nambakkam than there is. So you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Anjali. As Coach Joe mentioned, I'm from the Bay Area. So I'm an Indian American. My parents were Indian immigrants. And I think with my background, my parents really wanted to instill not only strong academics, but also I must have a good like social life, a good personal life, and also have good like mental health. And I think that truly having that work-life balance is really important to being successful wherever you are in your stage of life, whether it's just going into school, working to like get into college, or even if you are in college. And I think having that mindset, especially when applying to colleges, really helped me be so successful to be able to land into the BSMD program.
Fantastic. Making a choice of becoming a doctor is a difficult one. It's like you're going to study for 10 years. Your life is dedicated to serving people. Was there a moment or what is your story? How did you decide on becoming a doctor at such a young age?
Yeah, this is it's such an important question to answer for yourself when thinking about applying to BSMD programs. And I think for me, it was a long process. I did not discover it until my junior year of high school. I think it's this sort of, I suppose, myth that you have to have all your stuff figured out by freshman year if you want to try and get into these programs. But for me, I had to take a while, and I learned this after the pandemic because of course, I was going through the pandemic and I was hearing the stories of how like healthcare workers were at the front lines, but I truly developed that, and that's where my interest started. But I truly developed that passion when I actually started volunteering in the hospital. So I volunteered in the emergency department way down south from where I live. And I think that was one of the most life-changing experiences because of that interaction that I had with not only the doctors and the nurses in the ER, but also the patients. And that's, I think, really the core of wanting to become a doctor. It's finding that spark within yourself to, want to serve like humanity and want to serve those around you in that clinical setting. And for me, that spark came when I went into the ER and I went week after week and I was learning so much from everybody around me. And that's when I realized within myself, I wanted to continue that learning through my life and also help those around me more constructively. Of course, as a volunteer, you're being helpful, but as a doctor, you can truly begin to change people's lives.
That's so noble. That's wonderful. Can you tell us what kind of doctor you aspire to be? And also, the BSMD program is going to be extremely, extremely rigorous. So, how are you going to balance your personal life with that?
Mhm. So as for the doctor that I want to be an OBGYN. And the reason I want to be that is actually because of my shadowing experiences. Shadowing is another really crucial point in your application process. I think it's really important to have that experience so that you can actually see the life of a doctor, see, how they operate and how you can imagine yourself in their position and how you would operate. And I was lucky enough to be in the maternity ward. And also, I know this is kind of crazy. I was able to watch a live birth, and that really was such a transformative experience because I was like, hey, I want to be in that position. I want to be a support system for these women. I want to have that crucial role in their lives and start it from like the very beginning, from the baby's birth. And that's why to me I feel that like not personally that's where my interests like strongly lie. And of course, having discovered this, and it's going to be difficult to manage your academics plus your medical interest plus your personal life. And I think for me that's what I really tried to start doing when I was in high school. And I really tried to do that through meticulous organization. It's kind of crazy, but I had a Google Sheets where I had every day in like 15-minute intervals, like from like when I'd wake up like 6 in the morning to when I'd go to bed, like maybe 10 in the night. I'd had like slots open every 15 minutes. And I like jotted down like, hey, for this, the first two 15 minutes for like half an hour, I'm going to like do this homework assignment, or I'm going to be in school for this amount of time. And that like really like strict organization really helped me like get my life on track and help me see like, hey, this day I'm very academically focused. So maybe this next day I should hang back a little bit and explore more personal interests. And having that balance is really, really key to not only your physical and social health, but also your mental health.
That's wonderful, Anjali. It's like you're so young and you're so determined and kind of mature. Time management is one of the biggest skill to sort of own and manage, right? So that's fantastic. Can you tell us, like, how did you go about building your profile after the pandemic? Was it hard? How did you go about building a profile for BSMD?
I feel like the key activities for the profile, there's five different categories, three which are just specifically medical related. The first two, which are leadership and also hobbies, those two are for any college application. It's important to show that you have that initiative through leadership and being able to demonstrate that you have that drive to make changes within your community, and also your hobbies, which give you more personality and give you like make you seem more human when people are reading your college application. Those are the first two on my extracurricular profile that I wanted to make sure that I had solidified. And those are easy to start building even in your freshman year because you can start seeing, hey, what are my interests outside of academics and what can I do to make changes in my community? And those two I wanted to like make sure I had strong ones within my application. However, for medicine specifically, you need three separate ones, which are physician shadowing, volunteering in a clinical setting, and also research. Physician shadowing gives you that opportunity to follow doctors and really learn from them how their day-to-day is and how they operate on patients and how you can really see that relationship between the physician and the patient, which is truly one of the things that motivated me the most whenever I went during when I was writing my application. And it really is a life-changing experience because that really will give you that like spark to make you want to be a physician that changes people's lives. And volunteering gives you that opportunity to give back to the community. And in a clinical setting, especially, you can build relationships with the nurses and doctors that are supervising you, but also the patients that you encounter and help, whether it's just like, getting them some water or getting them hot blankets. It's those little things that really count and make their hospital stay so much better, but also helps you learn so much more about, the overall healthcare space. And finally, research is so crucial to your application went for healthcare and medicine, but also any field, because it shows that you have interest in the field, and it also helps you, start those conversations about potential gaps that are in studies that you can help bridge. And it shows that at a young age, as a high schooler, that you are prepared to start making those changes even more extensively when you're in college. And so for me, my main activity, which is going back to my hobbies, was equestrian. And this goes back to what I was talking about with the having a very strong work-life balance. Outside of my academics, I'm also a horse rider, and I ride horses competitively. And that really gave me something to talk about with my interviewers, gave me my main essay on the Common App, and it really shows who I am as a person. And especially with my other medical related activities, it shows not only can I care for humans, but also animals outside, and really connects well with the rest of my application.
Wonderful. Can you speak about research? That is how we met. You joined our research program and you wrote a very good research paper that got published. But the research paper was so thorough, so well written, so well researched that we still use it to show our students. So could you elaborate the whole process and how this helped you in your journey?
That's really so amazing. I'm so happy that I was able to help so many people. I think research is so crucial because it gives you that opportunity to really, really expand your learning. And the core of research is asking questions. And so I started asking myself questions within my interest. Since I wanted to be an OBGYN, I wanted to, align my research more along the lines of, what is a problem within women's healthcare that I can start a conversation on how we can begin to mend it. And so that's how I landed on my topic of antiretroviral medications or therapies, which is to combat HIV, and how that may affect pregnant women and how that may affect the babies and also the placentas. And so when you start asking those questions, it really allows you to start looking into specific research that may or may not have the answers to those questions. And that's how I started it off. Once I had my question, I started really researching to see, hey, how can I find the answer to this? Or how can I start that conversation? How can I come up with solutions? Which is how my research paper was eventually born. And I think I had so much fun writing that paper. And I think that's really where it comes down to. You must have that individual interest within you to want to learn more. And that's really also what universities and colleges are looking for, that students have that drive to continue expanding their learning, whether it be through research or through additional classes they may take.
Wonderful. And, how did our research course specifically help you?
This research course specifically helped me because once I had my interest, I needed a way to, structure what I had been learning. And that's what you and Dr. Raj really helped me with. It really helped me, once I have all my information, how do I put it in like an abstract, or how do I make it into a fully fledged research paper? And how do I make convincing visuals so that people can understand what I'm trying to convey to them? And that's really how Gifted Gabber helped me so much.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, even now, Anjali comes back to our classes. Like she mentioned, her attention to detail is really, really good. And we introduced BioRender in the class, but Anjali went ahead, explored BioRender, drew phenomenal pictures in her research paper. which made it very, very authentic and extremely powerful. And not only that, she went a step further to learning mind maps and other tools. So this is something that every student can imbibe is when given an opportunity, go and explore, dig deeper, right? So that's something that really stood out in your research paper. And I mean, could you tell a little bit about the structure and the ease of the program to help you reach your goal of finishing the research paper and publishing it?
Mm-hmm. The program is structured in a way that everybody is always checking up on you and making sure that, are you on track? Do you need help with anything? How, like, Coach Joe and Dr. Raj were so helpful when helping me, organize the paper in specific parts. Like, you start out small with your question, and then you get to your research, and then your hypothesis, and then you get into your analysis and data. And having it down, broken down step by step really helps, like, us students, figure out the research paper and the process, because we're still young, we're still in high school. We're not that familiar with it, but it was so helpful to learn how we can authentically structure and organize the information.
Bravo, bravo. What advice would you give to students who are sort of overwhelmed or struggling, like they have this internal fear, if they can meet that requirement of 4,000 words, the pictures, the detail and everything? What is your advice to them?
I think my biggest advice is to just keep, I think the biggest chunk, especially of this 4,000 words, is that research aspect of the paper. It's really important once you have your general topic to keep looking through go through PubMed and scour through all the research studies that are under the general topics of your paper, and just keep looking and looking through every one of them and gathering and collecting that information so that you'll be able to create a paper that is sufficient but also very, very knowledgeable.
Congratulations on your paper getting published. And in this interview notes, I will put your DOI link for your paper for people to see. That's wonderful. Let's talk about your BSMD application. How did you approach it? Because it's monstrosity, right?
Uh-huh. It definitely is a little bit overwhelming because you have to consider oh, you know what? I'm locked in. I'm going to be doing this for the next, 6, 7, 8 years, depending on what program you're in. I'm going to be doing it for the next 8. And it's a really big commitment. And so I think the most important thing is to, look to yourself and think to yourself, is this really what I want to do for the rest of my life? Because answering that question is going to make it so much easier for you to complete the rest of your essays and application, because you're able to convey that passion through your essays, through your interview, through your entire application. But once you've really discovered that, that passion within yourself, it's really important to find those extracurriculars that will really define you as a person and define your entire application. And of course, that is a little bit daunting. You're thinking to yourself, wow, I have to do so many activities and I have to do so many different clubs. I have to also get good grades on top of that. But I think this is where that hobby aspect of your extracurriculars really comes in. And I think it's important that you keep up good grades. That is definitely very important, having good test scores and having those medical related activities, but having that de-stressing activity that also gives you an identity outside of your academics is super, super important. When I was getting very stressed with having school, but also writing essays and also trying to keep up with my volunteering, I would look to going to the barn, riding my horse, and just having that activity to completely let go of whatever pending things that I need to do, because it gives you that break. And I think finding that work-life balance will really, really help you be successful when applying to BSMD programs, because it gives you that chance to have a break and take a step back, recharge yourself, figure yourself out, and then get back to your tasks. And I think it's very crucial for BSMD programs to really, really be organized and also start early on your applications, because BSMD programs, they're a longer application than your like traditional thing through the Common App. So starting your essays much earlier will help you be a lot less stressed as you go through. My timeline was I actually wrote my Common App around I wrote my Common App in June of last year. I started my process way early in the summer. I started late May and finished it in June. And then I worked on all of my other schools. I worked on my UCs because I'm from California. So I was like, I have to apply to all the UCs. And then I also worked on all my BSMD programs. And then I tackled just the regular programs, regular schools, just pre-med schools. And having that time, and of course it's going to be a long time because I started in late May and then I was still writing essays all the way until the end of December. However, spreading it all the way out is going to help you be a lot less stressed, and it will leave you to not do like a ton of essays right around in your winter break or even right before like November area. So that's my biggest tip, spacing everything out. It'll really help you be a lot less stressed.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. One last question. Could you throw some light on the mini medical interview? How did you prepare? Was it daunting? What are your thoughts?
I was thinking, oh my gosh, the interview is really, really terrifying. And it's very understandable. It's like, I actually had never done an interview before this, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be difficult. However, my mom was there to really help me, and she's just like, you know what? If you prepare, you're going to do just fine. And I extensively prepared for my interview because I was like, you know what? I have to go all the way and really make it count. So how I prepped was I looked up a bunch of questions from the internet. I was like, what questions do med school interviewers usually ask? And I wrote down answers to all of those questions, and I had it as a mental script. So when the interviewer asked them, I would already have an answer for them. So I came across as more clear. I came across as more, concise. And it really, I think, definitely showed how, like, I suppose organized I was as a person, and I was able to convey that through the interview. But also, I think not only is you answering questions very important in the interview, asking questions to the interviewer is really, really important. So I think that is also where I was struggling, because I was thinking, what questions could I ask them that would really like make me stand out? Because that is the biggest point of questions, learning from them, but also showing that, hey, I'm capable of asking such hard-hitting questions. And coming up with that is one thing that I really, really strongly suggest. And I think that's actually where I, clinched my spot in the Stony Brook BSMD program. And I do want to talk about that. So the question that I asked that I think every student should ask their interviewer is, what makes them proud to work for their university? Mm-hmm. That's the questions that I asked to my interviewers. And both of them were like, oh, nobody's ever asked me that before. Or, oh, that's such a good question. And I was thinking to myself, oh, wow, okay, that I made a mark on them. I stood out to them. And I think students should definitely ask that question. It will really make them stand out. And it also gives the student a lot of insight to the school, because it shows, oh, what makes it worthwhile to attend, or what makes it worthwhile to be there.
Fantastic. That's so amazing. I'm so very proud of you, Anjali. It's like you're so full of energy and electrifying. Do you have any parting words for my students and my audience?
I think one of the biggest things that I would tell any student, especially in high school, is, of course, it's important to, keep up with your academics, keep up with your activities, and keep up with everything that you need to do to make yourself more successful, like in the future. But it's also so important to just have fun and have like a life. It's one thing to just keep working and working and working and then eventually burn yourself out. But I would really, really, the utmost thing is to just enjoy yourself and enjoy the process, because it makes it just so much more bearable.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Anjali. Thank you for taking the time.